Days of Our Lives' core as a child becomes the prime suspect in E.J. DiMera's shooting. Salem has long been a town accustomed to scandal, betrayal, and tragedy, but nothing could have prepared its citizens for the shocking events that unfolded on April 3. E.J. DiMera, one of the most powerful and polarizing figures in town, now lies in a hospital bed clinging to life after being shot inside the DiMera mansion. But in a twist that's left fans speechless, all clues now seem to be pointing to the last person anyone would suspect, young Rachel Black, the daughter of Kristen and Brady, and E.J.'s own niece. When the suspect is just a child, it all happened so quickly. But what has gripped Salem, and viewers across the country, is a single phrase overheard moments before the gunshot rang out: "What are you doing?" These were the last words E.J. said before falling to the floor, bleeding and unconscious. Importantly, he did not ask, "Who are you?" or even, "Why are you here?" His tone carried familiarity, not fear. That detail has sent alarm bells ringing. Who would E.J. allow to approach him without suspicion? Who could walk the halls of the DiMera estate without raising alarm? The answer, shockingly, is Rachel Black, a little girl who lives under the same roof and who has access to nearly every corner of the mansion. What once seemed impossible is now becoming plausible. As the investigation unfolds, it appears that Rachel might not only be present at the scene, she could be the one who pulled the trigger. A family fractured by secrets and grief. What would drive a child to commit such an unthinkable act? In recent episodes, tensions between Kristen and E.J. have escalated, particularly over the disappearance of Rachel Blake, Rachel's namesake and maternal grandmother. Kristen, heartbroken and enraged, directly accused E.J. of being responsible. While their argument was never public, there is speculation that young Rachel overheard enough to form her own painful conclusion. Imagine being a child in the DiMera household, a place soaked in bitterness, revenge, and legacy. Rachel, still grappling with complex emotions and unable to separate truth from perception, may have seen E.J. as the cause of her grandmother's disappearance. With access to her mother's weapon and a heart full of confusion, she may have taken justice into her own hands, without understanding the gravity of her actions. Is history repeating itself? Veteran viewers will recall a similar incident involving Will Horton, who once shot E.J. DiMera during a period of mental anguish. Back then, it was another young soul twisted by trauma. The parallel is eerie and intentional. Just as Will's path to redemption was long and winding, Rachel's story may follow a similarly tragic arc. The writers of Salem are no strangers to poetic irony, and in this case, they may be setting the stage for Rachel to inherit a mantle no child should ever bear. Red herrings and misdirection, other possible suspects. While Rachel's name rises to the top of the list, this is Salem, a town where nothing is ever simple. Several other figures have suspicious connections to the shooting. Ava Vitali was seen throwing a gun into a dumpster before disappearing from town. Is she involved, or is her hasty exit just a convenient distraction? Then there's Johnny, E.J.'s own son, who was allegedly spotted with a gun belonging to Roman. Would he have the motive, or the nerve, to shoot his own father? These figures are the classic soap opera red herrings. Their presence stirs up tension and keeps the audience guessing. But none seem to fit as naturally, or tragically, as Rachel Black. The fallout: what happens if Rachel is guilty? The possibility that Rachel is the shooter opens a Pandora's box of consequences. Kristen, fiercely protective and dangerously loyal, might be willing to do the unthinkable, confess to the crime to protect her daughter. Brady, long caught between Kristen's chaos and his own guilt, may once again be drawn into a drama that forces him to play the reluctant hero. Rumors already swirl that Kristen could stage a dramatic false confession, with Brady launching a rescue campaign to save her and Rachel from a harsh fate. It wouldn't be the first time this doomed couple reignited their toxic connection in the midst of a crisis. As for E.J., he may survive. But forgiveness is not in his nature. If he wakes, he may use the situation to his advantage, blackmailing Kristen into giving up power at DiMera Enterprises or threatening to involve Child Protective Services unless his demands are met. He is, after all, a DiMera to the core, strategic, ruthless, and always calculating. Rachel's future. A DiMera in the making. Should Rachel be revealed as the shooter, the consequences for her may be surprisingly muted. Given her age and family influence, she could easily avoid prosecution. Instead, she might be quietly shipped off to a secluded boarding school in Europe, only to return years later as a rebellious, intelligent, and emotionally scarred young woman. The perfect candidate to become Salem's next great anti-heroine. With blood on her hands and the DiMera legacy in her veins, Rachel could one day rise to claim her place among the infamous figures of Salem's darkest tales. The story is far from over. This is Salem. In this town, nothing stays buried for long. Allies can become enemies. The dead can rise again. And the innocent can become the most dangerous. The possibility that Rachel Black shot E.J. DiMera marks not only a devastating moment for the DiMera family, but a turning point for the next generation. If the truth comes to light, it will change everything. Rachel's fate. Kristen's sanity. Brady's loyalty. E.J.'s quest for power. And Salem's sense of safety itself. So, as we wait for the next twist in this jaw-dropping saga, one thing is certain: Salem will never be the same again. Grab your popcorn, dear viewers. The storm has only just begun. Will E.J. forgive Rachel when he wakes up, or use her as a pawn to get what he wants? As E.J. DiMera lies unconscious in his hospital bed, the entire town of Salem holds its breath, waiting to see what will happen when he finally wakes up. But this isn't just a story about survival, it's a question of justice, revenge, and the cost of family loyalty. More importantly, it's a story about what kind of man E.J. truly is. Because when his eyes finally open, he may be forced to face a terrible truth: the person who shot him may have been none other than his young niece, Rachel Black. But here's where it gets even more complicated. At the moment, Kristen DiMera, Rachel's fiercely protective mother, is either in custody or being hunted down for the crime. Some versions of the story even hint that Gabby Hernandez might be falsely accused in a case of mistaken identity or planted evidence. With the real shooter still in question, E.J. may find himself at the center of a moral crossroads. Will he tell the truth and expose Rachel to protect the innocent? Or will he use the chaos to serve his own ambitions? E.J. has always been a master manipulator. His mind is sharp, his will is strong, and his loyalty to the DiMera name often overrides any sense of compassion. So even if he realizes Rachel was the one who pulled the trigger, it's far from guaranteed that he'll seek revenge or justice in the traditional sense. Instead, he may see this as an opportunity. Kristen, for all her faults, is one of the most cunning women in Salem. She would move heaven and earth to shield her daughter from any consequence. If E.J. sees her desperation, he might use it to force concessions. Perhaps demanding she step aside from DiMera Enterprises, or hand over confidential information she's been guarding. In other words, he might forgive Rachel publicly, while privately using her actions as leverage to tighten his grip on the family empire. And what if Gabby is the one in trouble? While E.J. and Gabby have clashed plenty of times, there's still a shared respect, even a mutual understanding of the game they both play. If he knows she's innocent, will he stay silent to keep Rachel safe? Or will he turn the tables and accuse the girl, shocking everyone, including Kristen? Some say E.J. has softened over the years, especially after his own near-death experiences and the betrayals he's endured. But others know better. E.J. is a man who sees every setback as a setup for a greater win. If he can use this shooting to regain power, silence his enemies, or gain control of the DiMera legacy, he won't hesitate. Even if it means manipulating a child. So, will E.J. forgive Rachel? Perhaps. But forgiveness from E.J. DiMera often comes with a price. Whether it's a demand placed on Kristen, a sacrifice forced from Gabby, or a calculated silence to buy himself more time, E.J. is not the type to let such a situation go to waste. When he finally opens his eyes, Salem won't just get answers, it'll get a whole new game. And this time, the stakes will be higher than ever.